Okay, so today is Monday the 18th, and I wanted to start this forecast out by talking a little bit about the upcoming eclipse that's going to be happening. And I'm going to use this to teach a little bit about it, that way you guys have a better understanding of what an eclipse is in the chart. And I'm going to talk to you about the energetics of this. And then I'm going to jump into what's going on this week, because I feel like this week, some of the seeds are starting to plant and we're starting to understand the Neptune-Jupiter conjunction that's been playing out in our lives a little bit more. And it's definitely going to tie into this eclipse that's happening on the 30th. So let me show you my screen really quickly. That way you guys get to see what I'm talking about. Okay. So on April 30th, we are going to have a partial eclipse. When we are looking at eclipses in astrology, the way that you can tell that an eclipse is going to happen or that it's occurring is whenever the two luminaries, which is a new moon, let me back up. You can tell whenever an eclipse is going to happen because of the either new moon or full moon is happening on the nodal axis that's transiting. So this is a wider orb, it's a 12-degree orb. So we know that this is a partial eclipse, and this is happening on a new moon. And so this is all in the sign of Taurus. And the way that we see that this is a new moon is in astrology, it will show up with the moon conjunct the sun. If it's a full moon, the moon would be in opposition of the sun. So the moon would be, actually conjuncting the south node. So if it was a full moon eclipse, then the sun would be on one node and the moon would be on the other. But because this is a new moon, the moon and the sun are conjunct right here. And like I said, it's in a wide orb, meaning that the conjunction is not happening at 22 degrees Taurus. It's happening in a 12-degree orb. So it's 12 degrees away from the node, the north node. But this is still an eclipse. We know this. And so how we are able to tell that it's a partial eclipse is because it has this wider orb. If it was a total eclipse, then the luminaries would be on the node, like sitting right on top of it, or like within just a couple of degrees of it. So I wanted to teach that to you guys. This is a partial eclipse happening in Taurus, and it is conjunct Uranus. This is very, very powerful. Taurus is all about survival. It's about our inner relationship to ourselves and our values and our resources. And resources are the materials that we have at our disposal to use to be able to survive. And this is conjunct Uranus. And to me, this is really powerful because Uranus is our subconscious. It is, I like to talk to my clients sometimes about, like, I tell my clients about seed thoughts. So like these kind of repetitive thoughts that you have kind of out of nowhere, like, oh, I should talk to so-and-so. I should talk to so-and-so. It's kind of always this instinctual thing, and it's busting out of the subconscious so that way you can act upon it if you're listening to yourself, which is also a double signature here with this being in Taurus. The act of actually listening to oneself is a Venus, Taurus, Libra theme. And so we can see that there are some things that are wanting to pop up for us to act upon. And it has to deal with the resources or the materials at our disposal that we have already inside of us. So with this eclipse that's happening on the 30th, and I will probably go more into this leading like up to this on the 30th, but this is really signifying so much. You have on the 12th, we had the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction. And now Jupiter has passed over Neptune and it's now in a new phase. And then we have Venus that has conjunct Jupiter and it has passed Jupiter. And so it's in a new phase. And so this is really starting this whole eclipse energy as saying, hey, there is a new cycle unfolding that is wanting to be revealed. Pay attention. Eclipses always signal for events that can happen in our lives. And because this happens on the notes, like I was talking about, this can be events that happen right prior to it, during it, or right after. And a lot of times, especially because the South Node is in Scorpio, this is really dealing with karma, like, you know, something that is fated. And with the Jupiter Venus conjunction that's happening in Pisces, it's really just repeating the theme of what was going on the 12th for us with the Neptune Jupiter conjunction that I've talked extensively about, I feel like. So if you've been watching videos or reading forecast of mine that I've put up, then you are becoming really familiar with this. And Venus is the ruler of this North Node. Venus is also the ruler of this eclipse, of this moon and the sun. And Venus is really about all of our values. Venus with Jupiter, it's expansion, it's big. This is really creative. There's this square going on between Saturn and the nodes on this day. And you can see this right here. Here's Saturn, and it is making a 90-degree angle to both of the nodes. And so one of the events that could happen is, in a Piscean fashion, it could be something that could seem like all of a sudden, something's taken away, or there could be something that seemingly like bad happen, and really then we realize that there's some clarity about it, and all of a sudden it's almost like we needed this thing to happen, this crisis. And this isn't going to be for everyone, but for some of those of you, I just want you to know that if something of a crisis occurs, you will get clarity. All of a sudden it's going to be revealed to you what is meant to be revealed. And this can be some hidden resource that you didn't really see before about yourself, but now you're having clarity about it, because whenever a crisis happens, it kind of forces the energy back in, and we start to ask the very Plutonian Scorpio questions of what's going on? Why is this happening? What do I need to do? What do I need to let go of? What haven't I been seeing? Have I been resisting? Or, oh, I have been resisting, and now everything is really, I'm getting clarity about what all of this is about. And I'm starting to understand this pattern that maybe I had some dissonance to before. And for some others, this can be an energy of, let me think here. I want to give a good example for you guys. Okay, this is going to be, I've got it. It'll be really mundane, but it could be very much like you and someone at work are up for a promotion, or something like that. And you guys have both been working really, really hard. And then at the last minute, this person has to quit their job, or they show that they're really not capable of doing something. And all of a sudden, you're being asked to step up to the plate. And so from a seemingly kind of crappy situation, you are able to have a light shined on you in some type of way. Or this can be simply kind of what I was talking about. All of a sudden, you're getting clarity about something. This is a very auspicious kind of energy, one that is very karmically linked, like I talked about. So it's going to have to deal with what work have you been doing in your life? What have you been working on? What have you been thinking about doing? What kind of creativity have you been having? These are kind of all of the energetics of this. There could be something that you've been creatively wanting to do, and you just felt like you didn't know how to do it, you couldn't do it, or there was a block there of some sort. And all of a sudden, you're realizing like, oh, I can do this. Or it can be all of a sudden, you are feeling like you can step into your power and you can actualize something that you've been working on for a really long time. And it can be something like a dream that you've been having, like, or if you've been working towards a goal or a purpose, now's the time where you could really feel like you could go after that. This is a really beautiful energy. And there could be some disillusionment, but here's the thing is, if it's one of those situations where there's a loss of some sort, or you feel like maybe you're a victim of something, or that, something seems bad, all of a sudden you can really gain clarity and see like, oh, now I see where I wasn't clear about this before. There was something there blocking my understanding of what was going on. And now I really understand, or now I feel like I can go ahead and I can move forward. So this can be actually really empowering. So if you're in this place where you might feel like a crisis is happening and life is happening at you, or you lose something or whatever, this can really, it's one of those moments of from the manure sprouts a lotus, it's kind of one of those energetic feelings. And the day before this eclipse happens, Pluto turns retrograde. And so this just really umps up the energies of this is something that's really karmically and connected and fated for all of us in some type of way. We can see what's playing out in the world right now. I think on a collective level, there's so much Pisces stuff that, and mixed with the North Node and Taurus, this can be environmental things. We can see shifts in oil production because of the whole Ukraine war. And so how this can possibly manifest is, I know that me and my husband have been thinking about how we really want to have electric cars. And so I could see that if something happens with oil and gas, that could feel like a crisis to a lot of people, but there could be a really big blessing from it, because all of a sudden car companies are wanting to manufacture more electric cars, and that would really be beneficial for the environment. And that is that North Node and Taurus kind of playing out with these Pisces themes of the Neptune, Jupiter, and Venus in Pisces. And so with the square to the nodes happening with Saturn, this is very much, I'm going to click out of this for right now. This is very much about really busting through something that we're needing to shed, or that we've had dissonance about, even on a collective level. And so the reason why I'm bringing all of this up is this is really potent. At the beginning of the month, we had a new moon in Aries, which signals, hey, here is a new cycle. Aries is it's a new cycle. We had a new moon in Aries. That's totally signaling for a new cycle. And then we have this eclipse that comes up at the end of the month with the next new moon, because this month we get 2 new moons. And so we had one at the beginning and one at the end. And so it's kind of bookending all of this energy, along with that Neptune conjunction that I've been talking about, that this Neptune Jupiter conjunction that we had hasn't happened in 166 years. So we know that this is really big. This energy is really big. there's a reason, I talk about this all the time. There's a reason why we are here. If you're listening to these videos, it is because you're someone who's at the very least thinking for themselves, and in a, you know, in a more evolved state is wanting to spiritualize. So you're wanting to know, like, what's my purpose? What am I here to do? And so you've got to think about, well, why did I pick this time to come here? And I truly have the thought of, because we're wanting to change the world. We're wanting to make it a better place with our environment, with how we treat people, the inclusivity, the getting back to natural law, the deconditioning of the patriarchy, and getting back into a more inclusive and compassionate and loving state. And I feel like that new moon at the very beginning of this month kind of was like, hey, here we go. And the weeks leading up to this next new moon, that's a partial eclipse in Taurus, is really going to signal that. And so I wanted to start that and tell you a little bit about this week before we get to the 30th. And I will go more into this next week as we get closer to this eclipse. So I wanted to talk a little bit about, so at the beginning of this week, here today on Monday, we have Mercury, and it is conjunct Uranus in Taurus. And so leading up to this, ever since Mercury went into Taurus, a lot of us have been spacey, or if you've been like talking and all of a sudden you're like, I forgot what I was saying. It's not because astrology is making this happen. It's only reflecting what we have going on inside of us. And so depending on where this falls in your chart, it can really signal why some of this is occurring. Mercury in Taurus is really about going slow. Taurus is a very slow-paced sign. It is really wanting to embody the feminine. So it's these creative forces, the energy flowing inwards. And it's really wanting to understand what is going on. And so it's with that, there's this slower process of internalization about what's going on around us. That way we are able to really understand what it is that's going on. So if some of you guys feel the energetics of kind of like a slower moving brain, almost, I don't want to say brain foggy, but just like going blank, it's really just signaling that there needs to be some slowing down and reconnecting with the body. That way you can really internalize what's going on around you. That way you can understand it. Because if you're just reacting, which is an Aries thing, right? Sometimes you don't have enough time to understand what's going on. And this is leading up to this eclipse on the 30th. And so there's this time of wanting to slow down. And then all of a sudden on Monday, it's conjunct Uranus. And so the Mercury conjunct Uranus in Taurus is now, if you are getting any of these thoughts about, this is what I should be doing. I like, for instance, I could give a personal example. I'm an astrologer, and all of a sudden I'm like, I have these goals that I want to do, and they're kind of repetitive. And so I write them down, and because I'm observing, like, how do I want to go about doing this? What do I want to teach? Which Mercury's teacher, by the way. All of a sudden the ideas start coming. You know, you've had time to slow down, and all of a sudden this Mercury and this Uranus meet up in Taurus, and it almost speeds everything up all of a sudden. And so ideas can come to you, and these are seed thoughts. And this is because there's some type of action that your soul is wanting you to do in regards to the resources that you have at your own expense that you carry within you. And if you don't know what they are right now, around eclipse time, that will really start to be revealed to you. And so I just really want everyone to pay attention to the repetitive thoughts that are going on and really understanding what it is. If you're internalizing the reality around you, well, back to the example I gave, all of a sudden I have these thoughts about these goals that I want to do. It's because I have been looking around and internalizing what is it that I need to be doing in order to be of service to help others. And this is kind of more speaking to me personally, but this is a good example of, because I looked around, now I have all of these, ideas about, well, this is what I could do in an astrology. I could teach this class, or I could do this one weekend or whatever. And so it's all of these seed thoughts are wanting to be revealed, so that way I can take action to go about how I'm next supposed to do this. And so if things like this are popping up for you, this is why. I've seen this a lot with clients. I've had conversations with other people. There's this really beautiful feminine energy. So there's a lot of this energy of wanting to work together with people, but you have to listen to yourself and do the Taurus thing and really listen. What is the best way to go about this? So, on Wednesday, the sun moves into Taurus, and the sun in Taurus is really just shining a light on just our inner relationship with ourselves, like keeping that. The sun is our life force. It is kind of, I like to say, like the end game in some ways. It's the thing that keeps propelling us forward. And so right now with the sun being in Taurus, this is really about listening to oneself and the relationship that we have with ourselves, which is the inner side of Taurus and Venus. And so if we're paying attention and we're listening, then we're going to be able to act on these seed thoughts. And this will go hand in hand with the relationship that we have with ourselves. If I've been learning how to trust myself, then I can listen to these things and I know when I can act on them. And then I can also be patient and do the Taurus thing and see what wants to be revealed to me as well. And so just really having the patience, and Taurus is really methodical. And so this is the time before the eclipse to really start planning out your goals. Like, what are these ideas that are coming to you, or what are you starting to realize about yourself that you didn't before, that you can now use to help yourself, to help your survival, to help you help other people. Then on Thursday, we have original Lilith conjunct the resolution Lilith, and this is in Gemini. And original Lilith is really at the most basic. It's the wild woman. I've talked about it. It's also the divine feminine. It is the ancient archetype of the feminine creative energies. And so this is conjuncting resolution Lilith, which is really about cutting away the things that keep you away from that part of yourself, whether it be you were assigned male at birth or assigned female. That really doesn't matter. It's just the energetics of the feminine principle of creativity. And with this, I really think this conjunction signals it being in Gemini is whatever thoughts or beliefs that you've been having about yourself that are getting in the way of you actualizing something. Lilith is conjuncting resolution Lilith and Gemini. That is really signaling for you to cut away these beliefs that are getting in the way of you moving forward in your life and being able to use your God-given talents, these gifts that are revealed to you, or things upon high that are being revealed. And so really getting in touch and listening to this and not being afraid to be creative in whatever way it is that, is being revealed for you to get into touch with and to really learn how to trust yourself. It's also putting words to being able to internalize your reality. So another way that this could pop up is with all of these energies I'm talking about is maybe there's something that you have been wanting to say to someone, and maybe you've been misrepresented or misunderstood or felt this way. And now is the time where you can not let shame get in the way of speaking that, and just being able to call a spade and being able to honor yourself and not use whatever's been told to you as a self-fulfilling prophecy. This is the time to step into your power. This is who I am, and it's about you speaking your piece. And in an event, if there's these energetics and there's been some resistance leading up to this eclipse, there could be an event that happens where you get to speak this, and you get to be courageous in your life in this way. So on Friday, we have Mercury conjunct the North Node in Taurus, and then so it's in this balsamic phase. And so it's kind of like having these ideas, these realizations be revealed to us. And once this Mercury conjuncts the North Node, this could be, I've been needing to be a student of something in this area. I've been looking for a teacher, and all of a sudden someone comes in, or all of a sudden you're being guided to teach people about something. This can also just be, once the Mercury hits the North Node, this can be, oh, okay, this is the moment where I'm having these thoughts and I'm really understanding this is what I should be doing. And so later on, it moves past the North Node, and so it starts a new phase. And so this is where you can start like making some headway on, how do I go about actualizing this goal? What do I need to do? What resources do I have available that I already have? And like really taking a look at yourself and taking stock and saying, okay, I know that I am capable of doing this, 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 and this. And now you're putting the footwork in, you're starting the first steps to initialize that. And then on Saturday, we have Hecate conjunct the North Node. And so this just really amps up. Hecate is this goddess. She is the triple moon goddess. She shines a light on the way that we should be going. It's kind of the embodiment of these three periods in our life, and of being, a child, middle-aged, and then the crone. And so this is really like putting together all of this wisdom. It's like almost a culmination of these archetypes of this wisdom. And so there's so much energy around things being fated. I really feel like if you're someone who believes in past lives, there are things that are unfinished that right now the seeds are being planted for us to pick up where we left off in a previous lifetime, where maybe we didn't have the courage to do it, or maybe we were killed for trying or attempting to do it. And now there's this abundance of energy and these thoughts all of a sudden kind of infiltrating, and we're being guided by our higher selves. And Hecate's there to kind of light the way. She's shining her lantern on. Yes, these thoughts have been here. This is your higher self. It's time for you to listen. And I'm here to give compassion and loving energy to help you, to help guide the way as you learn to trust yourself if you're having trouble with that. And so I just really want all of us to feel empowered, that we can trust ourselves, and that there are things that we carry within us that we have from prior lives, and they are gifts, and they are meant to be used at our disposal. So that way we are able to fulfill our purpose, or to help others, or to, maybe it's you've never learned how to survive on your own, and in this lifetime you're really wanting to actualize that for whatever reason. I've seen so many of these themes pop up lately, and so I just want to validate that if you're one of these people who have been feeling these energies, you're not alone. It is a time where there's a lot of people who are showing up and suiting up and are trying to do the work that they came here to do. You can see it all over this earth right now, and the courage that people are having, even if they're scared. And so I just really want to validate that for you, that it's okay, that if you have been having the intentions and of being someone who's wanting to be of service, or who's wanting to actualize something, even if it's, I just want to be an artist, and I instead went and joined the corporate world, like, this is a time where whenever these things are popping up, and it's for a reason. They're just, because people say that something's not, you can't survive this way, it doesn't mean that your soul wouldn't pick that for you, because there wasn't a reason for you to actualize it in this life. I'm not saying because you're going to be famous, but maybe it would bring you so much more joy, or maybe that's where your passion's really at, and you're realizing that what you have been doing, it's just the status quo, and it was what was expected, or whatever it may be. I just want you to know that these are really powerful times. And more than anything, I want you to listen to your inner voice, your higher self, because that is connected to something so much larger, and it won't steer you wrong. On that day as well, Artemis is conjunct Chiron at 13 degrees Aries. And when I say for a lot of us, I think that there are things that we're picking up where we left off in prior lives, and it has to deal with survival, and how do I survive on my own, or what is it going to take? And that doesn't even have to be like financially. It can be like, in order for me to be happy and just to survive, like living here, what do I got to do? What do I already have that maybe I haven't been utilizing or looking at? Artemis conjunct Chiron here in the sign of Aries. It's also semi-sextile this Uranus that's happening in Taurus. This is very much, whereas Taurus is the creative, the feminine creative principle, Aries is very much the masculine principle of, okay, well, you have this creative energy. So how are you going to go about responding to it? What are you going to do to champion that? Are you going to sit on it, or are you going to act on your instincts to put it out there, or to do this, or to do that? And so Artemis sitting on Chiron, there can be some type of old wound revolving around when it was time for you to act on some type of desire that had to do with something you've been thinking about. Maybe you didn't do it. And Artemis is really the embodiment of the androgynous nature of children. And this is going to get you in touch with these principles of learning how to connect with, your inner instincts, and to be able to respond to it. And this will be centered around whatever these thoughts are that have been cropping up for a lot of us, that are repetitive in nature, the things about ourselves that are wanting to be revealed that maybe we didn't know were there. And these are our own inner resources. And Artemis there on Chiron can get you back in touch with when you were little, you were fearless. You could, I remember I wanted to ride a bike when I was little, and my parents were too busy. I was like 4, I was in pre-K. And so I had bikes at my like little pre-kindergarten place where my parents sent me. And I remember this was going on during the Murrow bomb. I taught myself how to ride a bike. I was fearless. I remember I got back up every single time. Like I would try to write it in a circle and I would fall off, and I was learning how to get in touch with my body. Like, oh, if I move too much this way, then I'm off balance and I'm going to fall off of this. It was all instinctual, but I never gave up. I wasn't afraid of falling. Artemis on Chiron is saying, whatever it is that you have been passionate about or that you've had a desire to do it. Be fearless about it. You can have the adult, I'm going to respond to this and I'm going to be methodical and I'm going to use the Taurian energy to really let me think about it. But I'm also going to act when I need to act. And I can be afraid, but I'm going to ride the fear. And I know that I can get back up if I fall down. And that is the only way that I'm going to master whatever it is I set out to do. We don't come in here knowing what to do right off the bat a lot of times. And so a lot of us are under this perception that if we try something, it should be perfect at the right time. I've got a lot of Virgo in my family. So I see this a lot. And because I have a lot of that energy, I actually attract a lot of clients with this. I, feel like I should be knowing what I'm doing and that it should be perfect. And, all of these things, when in reality, in order for us to, let me back up. First of all, perfection is an illusion. What is perfection? It doesn't exist. And it's relative if you think about it. What someone can deem as perfection, someone else is not going to. But in order to hone one's craft, on the journey to exploring what it is that we have within ourselves to utilize in order to survive here, we have to be willing to fall, and we have to be willing to get back up, and to know that the value is in the effort, and that the only way that we truly learn is by just starting to do it, even if it looks really, really sloppy or uneloquent or goofy or whatever. It gets better over time, but you're never going to know unless you get back up on the bike. And so I want to leave you guys with all of this, and leading up to the eclipse, I want you to really pay attention to what's coming up for you and what's wanting to be revealed, because there are things that can come up around the eclipse. And just know that if something does happen and it's deemed a crisis or a source of discomfort, own your authority in it. Own the lesson and the teaching, and know that a lot of times the stuff is fated, and it's not the Virgo because you're supposed to suffer, it's over punishment thing. It is that a lot of times we do things over and over and over again because it's really familiar. And so when something happens that we didn't even realize we were resisting because there's been dissonance, just know that that's really just a really critical and powerful moment in your life for you to understand that life is the greatest teacher besides source, and that there's something that is wanting to be revealed to you that's new, that maybe you didn't recognize before, and that it really is a gift, that what you thought was poison actually can become your potion. And so continue to trust your inner guidance, and I will be filling you guys in every step of the way. And I appreciate the time that you guys take to watch these. Please share these with people. I would love that. I would appreciate it so much. If you feel like this would resonate with others, definitely share it to your Facebook. I don't care. I would just appreciate it very, very much. Anyway, I love you guys. Thank you so much.